Hey everyone, quick update. I just launched a poll a few days ago to let you vote on what I should include in my very first Gumroad content pack. If you guys don't know, Gumroad is a site where you can buy like videos and packs of videos for a very small price, like $1 to $10 per thing. But I'd like to emphasize this is not a paywall. All of my usual content, reviews, commentaries, etc., all of that is staying free on YouTube. But this is a chance for those of you who want bonus content, stuff that's riskier, longer, or more personal, to help support the channel and get something exclusive in return. So if you've ever wanted to shape what I make next, now's your chance. Vote in the first poll. First pack drops soon. And yeah, it'll be super affordable. Thank you for watching, voting, and backing an indie creator who's really doing this. I will also, actually, I don't know if I can link to the poll in the description, but maybe I'll try. I will try. But if not, the poll is in a community tab. And if you're wondering why it sounds like I'm reading something, it's because the first thing I made of this was like 3.5 minutes long. So I wanted to like write out my own script so it would be faster. So now on to the video. Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I wanted to talk to you guys about all of the projects that I'm currently working on and give you an update about each one, and just so that you kind of know when to expect each thing to come out, hopefully, and just so you know like how I've been doing with it's so funny because today, every time I have started doing a video, like something will happen to kind of make it like start off on the wrong way. So I recorded the same video like an hour ago or 2 hours ago. And 16 minutes in, the gardeners come and they're making like all this noise around the window so that it's like impossible to do the video. So I had to stop it, and now I'm restarting it. So anyways, I wanted to talk about like each specific project and just kind of give you a light update, and just so that you know what's been going on. If you haven't checked out my current Let's Make a Movie podcast, which, you know, some of those podcasts, I think that the problem is that I'm trying to be very nice in how I say things. And so sometimes it feels almost like I'm not really giving you guys the real opinion of what happened during these shoots, because I don't want it to come off like I'm being mean. But like, yeah, like it's a pretty good episode, the most recent one. And I talked about a really interesting incident where this guy, he had an outburst, and he made up this weird story about, like, I don't even want to get into it, but it was really, really bizarre. And it was so, like, he was saying stuff like, I gave you my life, you know, and it just, I mean, like, who are you kidding? You know, like, you come over, you shoot, like, 2 times a week for, like, a month, like, on an indie movie, and it's like, you're really giving me your life? Like, F off with that. And then also, unfortunately, I am not going to be seeing Superman tonight after all. On Sunday or Saturday, I got another fissure, from having IBS. And so it's just a little uncomfortable, and I think that, like, sitting in the movie theater, maybe having to go to the bathroom for 2 hours, it might not be the best choice. And so I apologize for that. I was really looking forward to going to the Amazon screening, but I will try to see it later this week. I am still really excited for it. Like, it really pained me to refund the ticket, but I have to do what I have to do. Like sometimes things shift, and when things shift, you have to just be calm and go with the flow and adapt. Like the dude from The Big Lebowski. I mean, that's the whole like philosophy of the dude, is that like just to go with the flow, and so I've had to do that a couple of times in the past year, and kind of just it serves you a lot better to not really be like angry about, oh, that didn't go the way I wanted it to, or to be really sad. It serves you a lot better to just say, okay, like that didn't work out, now I need to shift, now I need to go in another direction. And that's the way that you eventually succeed. I mean, there's that one quote or something like, you can fail like 1,000,000 times, and then the 1,000,001th time you'll finally succeed. And, I mean, that time that you succeed, it's only because you failed all those times. And it really is true. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is other people's projects. In the past year, I've had about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think like 4 or 5 people, come up to me and say like, hey, I want you to help me make my movie, or I want you to, make a movie with me. And it's sad because when I started making movies, like that's what I wanted to do. Like there was this one actress that I was gonna work with for my second failed movie, which was a vampire high school 80s slasher movie. It was going to be really mean-spirited and cruel and just totally like old school. And it's funny because I had everyone from like hyper feminazis to totally like country people read the script, and everyone loved it. Oh, except for like 1 or 2 people. Like, everyone loved it, even though it was so cruel and old school. And it just shows that, like, when they say that, like, they can't make a movie nowadays, they really can. Because you only have those 1 or 2 people who complain about it. Everyone else loves it. Nobody else cares about things being quote-unquote offensive. So, anyways, unfortunately, like, so this person who was going to work with me on the vampire film, she wanted to do like a short film. And so I was really excited. I was going to do one with her. That fell through after she fell through on the other project. I had someone who I knew from high school. She was a weirdo, and she was a terrible actress, but she wanted to make a short film. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, well, maybe I need to go to film school first, and after I go to film school, maybe I can finally make a short film. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then eventually she just blocked me because, I don't know, probably because she's embarrassed. But like, yeah, I knew her in high school, and, I don't even think she's still been to film school or made a film. So that was basically just code for I give up, and it was really sad because, again, like if you're there, like if someone else is there for me and helps me, then I'm there 100%. Like I give all the energy back that is given to me, all the good energy and the negative energy, if it goes that way too. But I've had all these people who, come to me, they're like, Marco, I want to do this. Marco, I want to do that. And one of 2 things always happens. Number 1, I end up doing all the work myself, and it feels like being in middle school again, where you do a group project, which I hated group projects, hated them with a passion. And when I had to do them, though, a lot of the times I would do all the work, and everyone else would just kind of goof off and just dick around. And that's what has happened with a couple of these projects, is that like people will be like, oh, well, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, and then they don't do anything themselves. Like I had this one guy, the guy who had the outburst, and he wanted me to make this short film with him, but he just would not do anything for it. And he has days off each week. I mean, just because he works every other day, that doesn't mean that he can't set aside some time, a little bit of time each week, and just make a little tiny bit of progress. But he can't, he won't. And that's the thing, is that some people, they're either born to make movies or they're born to watch movies. And but I was coming up with all sorts of ideas. I even came up with a full film. I came up with a full film idea. It is probably the greatest idea that I've ever come up with for someone else to star in something. Because that was another thing. Like, I wouldn't even have been the star. Like, I came up with a really, really good idea, and I don't even want to say what it is, because I don't want anyone to know until I start making it, which I will, by the way. I will, but it won't be with him. And you know what happened, by the way, when I said this idea to him? He said, I want to be in a movie where, like, I'm a gang member, or something where, like, I'm a bad guy who people like at the end. It's like, what the hell? Like, so I've had a lot of projects recently, though, where they're other people's projects, and it seems like, me working on these projects is just code for me working on them, and then they don't do anything for their own projects. And so I've had to kind of distance myself from these other projects that, they're not my thing. They're not my projects. They're someone else's. And I've had to kind of pull back my energy, because, I know that some people, you might say that I've spread myself thin. Ironically, because, I am kind of overweight. But, yeah, and it just, if you think that, then, I hope that you can take some comfort in knowing that I decided that, like, I'm not going to work on other people's projects. I'm going to focus on my own, because whenever I work on other people's projects, I'm always the one doing all the work. And, there are a couple exceptions, like, I have a fan who's working on her own short film, and, she has a different situation, but other than that, really, I mean, every single person who has approached me, it really seems like, they just want me to make the projects for them. And, I'm not about that, like, I've got enough stuff to do. And also, the way that I've been trying to counter spreading myself thin is that I really try to set small goals each day for each project, so that I'm not really, like, trying to rush, trying to force myself to do a million things at once, because I kind of like the experience of, like, just jumping around to all these different projects, because each time you jump around, you feel really refreshed. Like today, I feel really in the mood to do two certain things. I feel in the mood to write Goosebumps, and I feel in the mood to do some shooting tonight, possibly. And so that's what I'm going to go with. I'm not going to force myself to do things for other projects that, I'm not in the mood to do that. So that's what I've been doing for that. It's been tough, because I've been creating, like, different schedules for each week, and sometimes I have made schedules that just, they're very, very harsh, and there's just too much on the plate, and I end up getting burned out, like, every other day, and then I'm like, oh, well, this sucks. But then I make other schedules, and it's like you only set a couple of things each day to do, and you just do those things really, really well. And so you're making slow progress. I mean, what did they say? The tortoise and the hare, slow and steady wins the race. They don't say, like, rush through something and then you do a good job. Nobody would say something like that. That sounds stupid. So that's been my status overall. And so first off, County Fear, this project is a short film. It is a horror mystery thriller, and it is going to be kind of Goosebumps adjacent. It's going to be kind of like a Twilight Zone episode. It's going to be kind of like this very contained story that has like a 90s, 2000s feel, but it is not connected to the Goosebumps series. I want to make that very clear, because you probably could in certain ways, but do not do that, because this is its own thing. And in fact, I was supposed to make this short movie last year. It was originally a completely different thing called The Midnight Escape, but what happened was I was once again the person doing all the work, and then the people who were supposed to be doing work themselves, they just sat around on their hands and they didn't do jack shit. And eventually I was like, okay, these people are a waste of time, they're a waste of life, and they're a waste of my energy. So, I decided I'm going to make it myself, and I'm going to do a much better job than you guys ever would. And what do you know? I am all done shooting. And, I gotta say, short movies, they really help you put feature films in perspective, because when it comes down to things, short movies are just like feature movies. But you know what the difference is? And I know that this is going to sound goofy, but the difference is feature films, you have a lot of shit to do. It's just like, that's how I would describe making a feature film. Like, I have, let's see, for Drimp, there's like 60 to 70 scenes, and it's just like a checklist of a million billion things to do. Whereas with a short film, it is like a smaller list of things to do, and a checklist, and an irritating, like a laundry list of things. And so, yeah. But County Fear, I only have 2 sequences left to edit, and then I'm going to combine all the footage and form what the pretentious ones would call an assembly cut, which just means that, like, I'm going to watch all the footage together to see about pacing, to see if there's any issues just that I can see from watching it as a whole, and then also I will have to do the music at that point. But other than that, County Fear is done, and all I need to do are these couple of little things, and then I will be able to release my film. I think I will probably aim to release it in September, I think, because I do want to build it up. I don't want to just, throw it out there like, here's a short film, here's my video of the week, video of the month. I don't want it to be like that. I want these releases to feel special, and I want them to feel like they're these grand releases. Okay, now let me get to my list, because I have a list of, like, it's a ton of things. Okay, here we go. Now let's talk about Dr. Imperfect and the Perfect Man. This is the first ever feature film of mine, and it is a retelling of Frankenstein, but in the 50s, and it's a lot looser of an adaptation. I feel like with Frankenstein movies, it's just doing the same old shit over and over and over again. And so I really went into this wanting to do something different, and wanting to do something that feels like finally there's a breath of fresh air that's being blown into this rotting corpse of a story that's just been, told over and over and over again. And I'm really excited about it. There's so many things about it that I love that I've done so far, but there's a long way to go still. And there's just, again, a lot of stuff to do. And if I can't get it done by December, then not by December, by the end of October, then I am going to have to push the movie back again. And now here's where it gets tricky, because I want the movie to release in December. I want it to be like a winter movie, a winter release, something that, it feels right. So that would mean pushing it back another year to December of 2026, which there are some pros to doing that. So first off, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein comes out in November. And to be honest, I feel like his movie is going to overshadow mine. That is just the reality of, everyone knows him. Everyone is going to watch that movie. And if I release mine right after, people are just going to, they're going to miss it. They're not going to even notice it coming out. And then you have next year, Maggie Gyllenhaal's Bride of Frankenstein comes out in March. And I don't want it to be competing with that either. So I feel like, honestly, this is just coming from, the most genuine place. My genuine opinion is that I think it would be best to release this movie in December of next year, because I want it to have its own standing. I know that it might go up against the Avengers, which is pretty much like a death sentence for a movie, but what I'm hoping is that after you've seen these next two Frankenstein films, you're going to see this one's coming out and be like, okay, what is this one? What is this one all about? This one seems different, it seems interesting, and so I really want it to stand on its own. So I'm leaning towards pushing it back another year, but it is only if I can't get it done by the end of October. Because I know realistically, my movies aren't going to be box office hits right away. There's going to need to be some time where, there's a buildup of fans and buildup of people who like them or hate them. Whatever happens. And so I have to be ready for that, but I really want to release Drimp in the best time possible, and I don't think that releasing it right after a famous filmmaker just made his new Frankenstein, even though I came up with mine first. I came up with mine in 2022, and he started in 2023 or 24. But even though I want to play it safe and give it the best release possible. Now, People Pleaser, this one's interesting because it's a much simpler film. It has very few characters. It has very few locations. And it is just it feels like, I honestly think it's kind of like a situation like with Uncut Gems and then Good Times, where, Uncut Gems was supposed to come out first, but it ended up being that Good Time came out first, and a lot of people actually preferred that one to Uncut Gems. They said Uncut Gems was a bit of a mess, because I think you're going to be able to tell that I learned my lessons from Drimp and took them into People Pleaser, because it's so much simpler, and it's something that, I think, again, it's really going to show in the movie itself. The big issue, it's still on the slate to be released in February of next year, which I think that putting out deadlines, it's really become a giant waste of time, because it just makes me feel anxious about meeting the deadlines. It doesn't really motivate me. It doesn't make me feel like, okay, I'm going to have to do it by then. It just makes me feel anxious. and that doesn't help you make good art. But the big issue with People Pleaser is that the whole movie relies on these two characters being cast. And right now, I only have one of them cast, and I might have someone else for the leading role, the co-lead role. And so that is the big if. So if I can get that person cast, then that means all the dominoes are going to fall into place, and I am going to be able to basically pump out the film. I mean, it's set up in a way to where I can do a really, really easy shooting schedule, and it's not going to be this thing where it's like, okay, next month we'll shoot this scene here, next month we'll shoot this scene there. It's going to be a very fast-paced but steady and consistent shoot, and I'm really excited about it just because, again, I think that you're going to be able to tell, hopefully, that I want to learn as an artist, and I want to grow with each product, with each film, with each piece of art. I don't just want to stay in the same box and just be like, oh, I'm going to settle for this quality. Like, no, I want to get better with each film. Next up is the Lone Auteur book. This is going to be a memoir, but it's not going to be like the one that I released in 2022. It's basically going to be the full picture. It's going to be a big, big, big book. And it's going to have a lot of stories, a lot of characters, a lot of scope. I mean, it's going to be an epic book because the first half is going to be like a coming-of-age story. And then the second half is basically going to be the making of all these projects put into one. And so it's going to be really, really insane. And it's probably going to be like really, really interesting for the people that are interested in reading it. But, and I know that sounds funny, but I have only written the prologue. I still need to start writing it and start getting on like a consistent schedule, and I am aiming to release that in August of next year. And currently, I think that that's realistic. I really love writing. I'm really good at writing, and if I get on a consistent like pace, then I'm able to finish something, regardless. And then also I have to worry about like I have to wait to finish these other projects to fill in the stuff at the end. So, we'll see. But I am very confident that I will be able to meet that release date. Next up is the Goosebumps fan series. I have currently only written one episode, and I am 70% through the second one. So that is out of 16 episodes. So I have a long way to go to just writing the scripts. And I don't know. I think that it'll probably come out 2027 or 2026, late 2026, because I'm going to try to make it to where the shoots are easy, they're fast-paced, but I take my time. And, it's just all going to depend on all these other moving parts. You know what I mean? Like, it's all going to depend on, am I still working on Drimp in 2026? Am I still working on People Pleaser? What all am I working on? Because 16 episodes for a one-man crew, I'm basically asking for trouble. But you know what? I kind of like it because it's a challenge. And that's what I think. A lot of people, when they see my work and they see the stuff that I do, they're going to think that I'm just like a narcissistic idiot who's just like obsessed with himself or something. But the truth is, I love challenges. And the idea of making a 16-episode series as a one-man crew, it's really, really enticing to me. It feels like an adventure, and it feels like something that, you know what? It's basically like making 16 short films. And, I made County Fear in like a month. So, Yeah, probably 2027 is when it'll come out, but I'm really, really excited to get working on that. In fact, that's what I'm most passionate about today. Like, after I finish door dashing and, eating lunch, doing all that stuff, I'm just so excited about getting back to working on Goosebumps today. So next up is Night Tour. Now, this is a movie that I have talked about many times before. It is going to be all about my past life experiences and my past life journey. And basically what it's going to be, without giving too much away, it's going to be like the X-Files meets Zodiac. And it's going to be all about this guy who is like me, like a Woody Allen character, basically, and this girl, and they go across the country searching for clues about what happened in his past life. And so I'm really excited. I have already started that, writing it again. For a while, I really had trouble getting this movie started. I'm too close to the story. And what happens is that, like, I have to kind of pull back from the reality. And this is what's really hard about writing a true story film, because People Pleaser, I wrote that in 6 days, and it is also kind of like based on true stuff, some of it, and true people, I should say. And I had to distance myself from the true events and just focus on writing a story and using the truth, using true things that happened. And so that's what I'm kind of having to do with this. And there was a brief period of time that I thought that Night Tour was going to be like a show, and I don't think that would be good at all. So, I got rid of that idea, and so I am restarting writing that movie again, and I'm really excited about it. It feels like it could be my center work. Like, it could be a defining work. It could be a defining piece of art, because it's going to be so epic that it's, I think it'll probably be the most epic noir movie ever made. Just in terms of scale, just in terms of, like, all the locations, all of the time period that's elapsed. I mean, this is going back all the way to the 1950s, 1960s to now. That's a lot of time that's elapsed. And so it's just inherently going to be an epic story. And so it's really cool, though, because with all these projects, I love how each one of them is very unique. And each one of them has their own distinct feel that is really fun to not just, like, make the same movie over and over and over again. Like, you could say, I stick to horror, but not really. Because Drimp is more of a sci-fi thriller. It's not as much of a horror film until, I don't want to say anything more, but, it's more of that. People Pleaser is a horror film. Goosebumps is horror, but again, it's a lot of mystery, thriller, adventure sometimes. And that's what I really like about the horror genre, is that if you make a horror story, you can do other genres inside the horror genre, and you can do a lot of different and interesting, unique things, and people will accept that, whereas they won't accept if you do that with other genres, like if you experiment in other genres. And we saw that with Megan too, There was no horror in that movie. It was just action comedy. If they had had some horror in that movie and still kept it a horror movie, I think more people would have liked it. And so other than that, I also have Distorted Cuts, which is the first failed film that I tried to make. I did have someone who I was really excited about being the possible co-lead because she seemed like she would fit the role, but she turned out to be a huge flake. And, like, just for perspective, I was thinking about hiring her for Drimp, the co-lead in Drimp, and I asked her if she had read the script yet, and her reply was, "What script?" And that was after like 3 weeks. So all these 3 weeks, it never even came across her mind to even look at the script or think about the script. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, why do modern actors, like, they really don't take their work seriously anymore? Because, like, saying something like, what script, it's like, what the hell? Like, who would do that? Like, who would even be, like, confident enough to just be like, oh, what are you talking about? What script? The one that, it's very silly. But I really want to make that movie at some point. And then I've Been Bitten that's the one that everyone loved. Everyone loved it. It was a crowd pleaser. One person said that it felt like a horror classic that was close to like Friday the 13th. Like it could become a horror classic. So people really enjoyed it. But the problem is that I was supposed to be the lead. And I don't look like I'm in high school anymore. I look like, I guess it's better when I shave. And so I might take that into account, and I might just end up doing it anyway, because when you make a high school film like American Pie that is risque and it has a lot of that kind of crude elements, you want the people starring in it to not look like high schoolers so that people know that you're not sexualizing teenagers and that you're, because my opinion on high school movies is that a lot of them are almost like reflections of what it was to be like in high school at a certain time. So when you're showing like a naked, like, adult playing a teenage character, you're not thinking about it like you're showing a naked teenager. You're thinking about it like you're reflecting on your time in high school as an adult with adults in the roles. Because, like, how many of you guys have ever thought about, like, reflecting back on high school and just thinking about, like, oh, that was crazy. That's what high school movies are to me. They're not, like, like literal, unless they're, not like American Pie or something. But the ones that are like American Pie, I think that they speak to adults. They're more so made for adults, but, teenagers probably liked American Pie as well. Hopefully, that was a classic movie. But yeah, that's my opinion on high school movies. But that one is much more likely to get made sooner rather than later than Distorted Cuts, just because Distorted Cuts has a lot of gun violence in it, and I don't feel confident that I would be able to do that at this level without having a lot of safety precautions and having more experience and stuff like that, So that's pretty much it, guys. I also have the project that I talked about with that guy, the project that he declined, basically, or he didn't act like it was good enough. But that is a project that I'm really excited about. It is another true crime project, by the way. And I can say, too, oh God, the gardener is coming back. What the fuck? Okay, God, I hate the gardeners at this place. They literally just appear at the most inconvenient times. Like, it's really bizarre, but, I'm probably gonna have, like, a lot of true crime films. Because I'm really, really passionate about telling true crime stories in a respectful way and in a way that doesn't, like, mince words about what happened. Like, I'm really, really into crime and into history and biopics. Like, I would say horror and biopics and comedies, that's like my top three of movies. And so that's what I'm going to try to focus on, but I'm not closed to doing like an action movie, adventure, pure sci-fi. Like, I'll do any type of movie. Like, I don't care. Like, I will make any type of movie. But if I'm making someone else's movie, they better be putting in some work too. Because, I mean, I think that's what's I've realized is that, like, there's a lot of people who are really, really motivated by me because they see that I actually do stuff. I'm not just someone who sits around and says, oh, I want to make a movie. I actually go out there and make the movie. And what happens is when you're someone like that, you attract a lot of people who don't have the motivation to make it themselves. And so they kind of leech off of you, and they kind of use you to try to, like, push themselves. And to be honest, like, I'm just not invested in anyone else but myself right now. Like, I look back at, like, all the bad shoots that I've had this year, people who really wasted my time, my money, my energy. I look at people like the guy who had the outburst, and I just think, like, God, like, to think I was going to invest myself in helping him succeed. I was going to invest my time and energy into trying to help him make his own short film, even though I have all this stuff to do. And I don't feel like I'm getting that energy back. I feel like it's like there are certain people, and all they want is they want power. And they want to get power by way of, like, taking advantage of a creative guy. And, you see that all the time in business. You see, like, a creative guy who makes, like, a kick-ass product, and then you see someone who comes in and takes advantage, and then the creative person gets screwed over. And I'm not going to be that guy. If anything, I'm going to screw other people over if they deserve it, if they try to screw me over. And I'm not going to be taken advantage of anymore. And I'm going to keep all of my energy to myself. Because when I do that, you're going to get the best art that you get from me. Because I was born to make movies. And I was born to do the work that I'm doing. But I can't do that work well if I'm giving all of my effort to other people who don't even appreciate it and who kind of treat me like I don't even know, like, I think, like, just not very well, And so I wanted to tell you guys just honestly an honest update about every single project. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you only want to support the channel, if you decide to support my Gumroad page or my Patreon page, it would be a big help, because I want to get to a point where I don't have to do door dashing. I don't have to do all this other stuff to make movies. I want to just be able to make movies and not have to worry about, I have to, go do this and go do that. And, I want to be at a better place where I can make better art and focus on the art. And if you guys are supporting my Gumroad or my Patreon, you're not just, like, giving a guy money. You're not just, like, I know that there's a lot of, like, streamers and people who are just like, hey, guys, can you buy me a sandwich for lunch? Hey, guys, can you help me out with the rent? If 1,000 people give me $1, that would help out. You're not just doing that. You're helping me fund my art. You're helping me fund, the art life, as David Lynch would say. I mean, isn't that how we want artists to live? I mean, I know that, like, there's all these other professions, but, like, there's certain people in the world who are made to make art. And, as long as you like the art, then you'd think that you would want those people to live as comfortably as possible and not have to worry as much about their circumstances or things like that. So I just wanted you guys to know that if you decide to support the Gumroad page and other stuff, the money is going to go to the best places possible. I'm not going to spend the money on Yu-Gi-Oh cards or some bullshit like that. Like, I'll spend it towards an actor coming here to film. For instance, next week I have this girl named Jenna. She's coming over to film, and I have to get her a hotel. I have to pay her for that day of filming. I have to reimburse her gas bill. I have to reimburse wardrobe that she gets. And I have to get props, and I have to get her food for that day or two. And so that's a lot of stuff. And so that's where this money is going to go to. And so I just wanted you guys to know that. So anyways, please like this video, comment, and then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to support my filmmaking journey. Because that's another thing. If you subscribe to this channel, you are helping me out become the best filmmaker that I can be. And, I'm very grateful for any and all help that everyone gives me. Because, as much as I pride myself in being a one-man crew, I can't do it alone. I can't be on this journey alone. And, I hope I didn't sound whiny there, because I'm having a bit of allergies come up now. And so today is just been a stuffy day so far. It's just, my room is so stuffy. That's how I would describe it. Didn't Norman and Psycho talk about a stuffy room or something? That was so random. I was just didn't Norman Bates talk about stuffy rooms? But yeah. You know what I should do now, actually? I should, and that is another thing, by the way, I should mention. I want to start doing more reenactments. I'm really good at doing them, and I think that they're a lot of fun. And so maybe I should do the parlor scene from Psycho. And I should be I like to stuff things. And also, have you noticed this room is really stuffy or something? And then, I purposefully, I talk like this, I'm having terrible allergies, guys. That would actually be pretty funny. But yeah, goodbye, everybody. See you soon.